Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, I'm going to issue an apology to fellow YouTuber Freakied0550. Before I get into that topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas I turn into videos just like this. All right, so a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks ago, I don't really remember, I was doing a live video on a Saturday morning, and I was asked a question, and I'll get into some of the details and explain what happened and why I'm making this video, but I was asked a question about linear progression or linear periodization. A viewer asked a question about somebody that had bench pressed 530 pounds using linear periodization, asked me a question. I interpreted it incorrectly, which is completely my mistake, my error. And I went on to say some things about this claim and this individual that were completely off base. So I'm going to talk about that in this video. The individual that I was referencing in that live video was somebody that I didn't know. I wasn't aware of who this YouTuber was, and this YouTuber's name is Freakied0550, and I'll drop a link to his channel down below. A very strong guy and somebody that is definitely a freak. So he has a 530-pound bench press. I want to preference what I'm about to say with a couple things, and I want to break down some things in this video, some of the aspects that I want to apologize over. Blocking him, which occurred on my Massive Iron group, and then I went on to block him on my personal channel, or excuse me, on my personal Facebook and Instagram, and I'll get into that. I called him an idiot, which was completely off base, but I didn't know who it was. I didn't know who Freakied0550 was, so I'd call the individual with the 530-pound bench press an idiot, and that happened to be Freaky D, and I apologize for that. And I also want to discuss in this video the difference between linear periodization and linear progression, and how it's often, the differences are often misunderstood, and how sometimes, it's easy for us to misunderstand what somebody's talking about. And I did that in this case. So that's, I want to preference this by saying that in YouTube, and I've been doing YouTube, I don't know, for 8 years, and I've been in the fitness industry for about 12 years. There is a lot of chaos. There's a lot of strange people, to put it bluntly. And occasionally you'll wake up in the middle of the night and somebody's spamming your Facebook wall with attacks because they didn't like something you said on YouTube. I've had occasions where I've had folks actually call my 12-year-old daughter. They've called my ex-wife at her work. People have posted where I live they've taken pictures of where I live and posted it on the internet. Just some really strange things happen when you're on YouTube and you've been on YouTube for a while. Some people really take information personally. And so I will say that because of having gone through some of this stuff, especially the stuff with my daughter, people calling my daughter, trying to harass my daughter, and just with people waking up in the middle of the night and people just spamming your wall with crazy stuff, you get a little gun shy. So I will not lie, I tend to block people quickly before I run the risk of having that happen. Just as an example, I have one gentleman right now on YouTube that must leave 10 to 20 comments and follows me around everywhere, just constantly trying to harass me. So YouTube can be a circus, and I just wanted to establish that as kind of give you guys an understanding of why I am, when I see somebody, post something about me, I get a little bit nervous, and I'm not going to lie about that. So I tend to block rather quickly on my personal pages. So with that established, let's go back a couple, 2-3 weeks. I don't remember how long ago it was, but I just hopped on a live video, and somebody had asked a question. This was on a Saturday morning. Somebody had asked a question that went something like, there's somebody by the name of Freakied0550, and I didn't remember the name because I'd never seen it before, who had got to a 530 bench using linear periodization. That is what the statement that they made, and they asked me what I thought about it. Well, to be honest with you, I read it as linear progression. So in my brain, I'm thinking, this guy, whoever this guy is, and you obviously, if you've been in this industry for a long time, or even for a short period of time, you've been around lifting for a long time, you hear a lot of crazy claims. Let's be honest. I mean, guys will say they used to squat 700 in high school. You just hear a lot of crazy things. Some viewers saying they're 240 pounds and 4% body fat and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, I was what I was. It was a Saturday morning. I read it incorrectly, and it said 530 pound bench press using linear periodization. I read it as linear progression. And I went on to say that if this person did reach a 530 pound bench press using linear progression, they are a freak, which is absolutely true. And I went on to say that if a person could get to a 530 pound bench press using linear progression, not periodization, then they probably could have done it using any system because they were a freak. And I believe that to be true. I've never met anybody that has used linear progression, not linear periodization, to get to a 530 pound bench press. So I would consider that person a freak. But I also assumed incorrectly that this person was trying to, this bencher that had benched 530 pounds was trying to promote linear progression, not periodization, as the be-all, end-all. And I went on in my video to call the person an idiot. And I was completely off base and off target, and I completely misunderstood the question. I completely misunderstood what was going on, and I take complete blame for that. I called Freakied0550 an idiot, which was completely inappropriate. I didn't take time to understand the question. I was processing a lot of questions, and that's no excuse, but I read it wrong. It happens sometimes, and I take full responsibility for that. But I caused him a lot of grief, and people approached him about what I said. And, that's why I want to make this video. I apologize to him for causing him grief. I apologize for putting my foot in my mouth and saying the wrong thing and assuming what he had said and what he believed and how he trained and all that kind of good stuff. He's a strong lifter. I've checked out his channel. He's incredibly strong. He's stronger than I ever was. And, I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of respect for anybody that trains hard. So, again, that's why I'm making this video. I want to apologize. Now, I want to talk, after that had happened, I was sitting at home. I don't know. I don't really recall the night. I don't really recall when this happened because I had a busy last couple of weeks getting ready for Christmas. But somebody had DM'd me off my Massive Iron Facebook group and said that and this is just what they messaged me. A couple of guys had messaged me off my Massive Iron Facebook group and said that somebody had been talking about me on the group and they blocked somebody. One of my moderators had blocked somebody. I never got to see the post. I didn't know who it was. I didn't know what was going on. And then I went and checked the log on the Massive Iron group, on my Facebook group, to see who had been blocked. And I found the individual's name. Wasn't familiar with the name, didn't connect it with Freakied0550, didn't even really know yet at that point who Freakied0550 was. Found the person's name, searched, blocked them on Facebook, and then I went on Instagram and blocked them because, again, it's crazy in YouTube, and when someone goes out of their way to hunt you down, and I didn't know who it was and that it was related to my, comment on YouTube Live, you just kind of assume they're going to target you on your Facebook personal wall and on Instagram, stuff like that. So it was just a preemptive strike, and that is why I blocked him. And I apologize for that. I had no clue it was Freakied0550. I had no clue it was related to what I had said because, again, I never saw the comment on my Massive Iron group. So that went down, and I blocked him before I knew who he was. So I also want to talk a little bit about linear progression and linear periodization because, honestly, this is something that, people confuse. If you look at people assume that, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of linear progression for most beginners to late beginners. It works. You can add 5-10 pounds to a lift every week. It works. It certainly does. I'm not saying it doesn't. But in my world, it's just not my favorite way to program. It's just not the way I like to program. And I hope we can just be, neutral and say that that's fair enough. Because I don't really care how anybody trains as long as they're consistent. use the big compound movements and just, enjoys what they're doing because it's the gym. It's not life or death. But I don't particularly care for linear progression. That has nothing to do with linear periodization. If you search my YouTube video history, and I've made plenty of videos, and you search just the word linear, you're going to see about 5 or 6 videos about linear progression, okay? And you'll come to the understanding that, hey, I don't really particularly like linear progression, but you will not find any videos that I am aware of that I've ever spoke about linear periodization. Still, a lot of people, a lot of lifters don't understand the difference between linear progression and linear periodization. And I do get a fair share of questions on live and on Instagram and all different places with people assuming I hate linear periodization. Nothing could be further from the truth. Linear periodization is very wise. It's a very smart way to train, and it certainly works. I've never talked bad about linear periodization, and if I have in any way, I probably screwed up and was talking about linear progression. Linear periodization is a cycling, in simple terms, from doing like more volume with lower intensity to less volume and higher intensity. And that's typically that's a great way to train. There's nothing wrong with it. And that is how Freaky D, as far as I know, built his bench. And there's nothing wrong with that. Never said a bad word about linear periodization. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people think I've smack talk over the years. I think I've smack talk linear periodization. I've never done that. I only talk about linear progression because I personally am not a fan. And if somebody thinks I'm an idiot for that, that's fine. That's, it's just my personal preference. But I wanted to mention this in this video because I get so much heat, regular heat, about linear periodization, people misunderstanding linear periodization and thinking I hate linear periodization. That might have contributed to me misreading the question. So when the viewer a couple weeks ago on the live video talked about Freaky D's 530 bench using linear periodization, I misread it. I misread it as saying 530 pounds using linear progression, which is something I really don't like, something that I get fired up about, and that's my mistake. That's my mistake. So this video has been long enough. I just want to end it and say, I'm very sorry for the grief I caused Freaky D. It was my mistake. I'm sorry for calling him an idiot. I'm sorry for blocking him before I knew who he was. And he's a strong guy. From what I can tell, he knows what he's talking about. And I'm going to drop a link down below to his channel. Go check it out. So, all right, guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.